Whenever I play a game like this, whether it's an indie title or just one that's more hardcore, I always think of Nicholas Nygren, the developer behind stuff like Night Sky. So he once gave this presentation on game design in which he said something that, as a critic, really struck a chord with me. Your game is always harder than you think it is. You see, I'm not one of those people who think difficulty is something to be proud of in a game. I think anything that inherently limits the appeal of a game is a bad thing. So for the sake of both broad accessibility and my average at best gaming skill, I always advocate things like adjustable difficulty levels, especially for something this ridiculous. So, as you may have gathered from my whining, yes, Pester is very hard, and no, it doesn't have an easier difficulty. It's set by default to, hey, being really good at video games is so cool mode. Nonetheless, if you're into brutal challenges and or old space shooters with a dash of bullet hell, Pester is the punch in the mouth you're probably looking for. You fucking sadist. A recent release to Xbox Live, Pester comes from the same team that did Super Killer Hornet. Pester's a lot like that game, only it goes with the pixelated retro aesthetic. An awesome choice, no question. There's even an option for having arcade scan lines on the screen. That's right, scan lines are an option, but not easy. I mean, you know, all I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share. Anyway, enemies leave coins behind once you shoot them, and once you collect enough, you go into this hyper mode, which is cool. The only problem is that the coins are often the same color as enemy bullets, which means there are some cheap deaths. But the real draw is that by combining its modifiers and game modes, there are 96 possible ways to play Pester, and I suck at all of them. Now, aside from the aesthetic, this is a pretty straightforward shooter, but the game does have this Tempest mode, which is basically make it as far as you can within the time limit. Enemies drop additional time in this mode, which is pretty cool. In fact, this might be Pester's most compelling mode for hardcore players. Now, with that said, only hardcore players need apply. Pester is a challenging and fun, if somewhat standard shooter, but if you're not a super skilled gamer, Pester's more frustrating than anything else, regardless of how many bits it pretends to have.